Wow, what an interesting result. Who would have thought this? So we found in the open field that the HA1 and HA3 lines were pretty much comparable. But now look at the 0 milligram per kilogram, the vehicle injected groups of mice. And the HA3 mice are much more anxiety-like, or show much more anxiety-like behavior by not going onto the open arms compared to the HA1 lines. So this is a huge difference in their behavior when the animals are actually not exposed to drugs. And then the pattern of response to the drugs is very different. And that explains the significant interaction effect for dose and strain. So the HA1 strain has a tendency to decrease their exploration of the open arms with 10 milligram per kilogram and then slowly recover back towards the vehicle injection. Now, this was not significantly different, probably because there was such a huge variation in the vehicle group. However, the HA3 mice actually increased their time on the open arms from 10 to 20 milligram per kilogram, and at 20 milligram per kilogram it's actually significantly different from the vehicle injection, and then it goes down a bit at the 40 milligram per kilogram. So that's why there is a different response to the drugs. So the HA1 lines tend to decrease their open arm behavior with fluvoxamine treatment, and then the HA3 lines tend to become less anxiety-like with increased doses of fluvoxamine up to about 20 milligrams per kilogram. So this is a very different response to a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. In addition, I'm really happy to see this result because it shows that 6 to 30 hours after the last injection, fluvoxamine still had an effect, and a pretty pronounced effect in the HA3 lines by decreasing anxiety-like behavior, and in the HA1 line by actually tending to increase anxiety-like behavior. So although we didn't find a significant effect of fluvoxamine on nest building behavior after 14 to 15 days of drug treatment, we can now definitely state that fluvoxamine did have a long-term effect on the elevated plus maze. So we know now that the drug did have an effect on anxiety-like behavior, and if there would have been an effect on nesting, we should have been able to see it. I think this is a really important outcome of this particular elevated plus maze experiment. And this in general shows how important it is to test animals under different situations, because animals may respond differently to different types of situations. So anyway, I'm looking forward to how you're going to interpret these data and how this reflects onto the OCD model. And then next week, we'll have 3 modules discussing the interpretation of the overall set of data in an overall framework. And then I will propose my interpretation, and then you'll be asked to critique my interpretation as best you can. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.